Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG. I am Sovereign and today we have some more 1v1 duel goodness. We're going to be going to Hull once again, as there's pretty much no need in this sort of competitional environment to actually blow up the ship. The last video with the Ashimmu versus the Cinnabal actually got some pretty good viewership. It wasn't one of the best viewership, but it did bring a lot of attention from players that are interested in the 1v1 scene. And since then, I've been given a massive amount of duel invitations. Keep them coming. Keep sending me them on the Discord. You can join my Discord down below in the description. We actually started off today's duels with a Succubus versus the Cyclone, but that was just literally a stalemate. He couldn't hit me and I couldn't break his tank. But his cap was lowering to the point where I could have got him eventually, but it would have just taken too long, so we decided to call it there. Now I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to be talking over the fight as it's happening, letting you know what I'm trying to do, letting you know what the other person did right, what the other person did wrong, and what I am doing during the fight. So I'm hoping you find that more interesting than the music in the background. So I guess we should just get straight into it. So firstly, we're just going to go over Tide's fit on his Vigilant first. We have the C-type medium rifle railguns for 5 of them. In the low slots, we have a medium capacity battery, 2x medium armor repairers, 1 medium micro warp drive, and a Federation Navy 800mm plate. In the mid slots, we have 2x Federation Navy Stasis Weatherfires, and as we know with the Vigilant, that is a massive decrease in speed once you get into range of about 22 kilometers, and a Predator Warp Disruptor with the bonuses sitting out at about 45 kilometers. So in the combat rigs, he's got a tier 2 railgun collision accelerator and 2 T2 burst aerators for the railguns. In the engineering rigs, he's got auxiliary thrusters 2, raising his speed up, and a polycarbon engine housing 2 to lower the cost of the micro warp drive. And now moving on to Chaos. We have in the high slots 6 C-type missile launchers. In the mid slots we have 2 U-Peer Nosses and an interruptive scrambler. In the low slots we have a medium shield booster. Now he has the medium shield booster in there because of his rig slot layout, which you'll see in a second. He actually has a boost amount of about 650 with that 1 medium shield booster, which is pretty damn high and less cap usage. We have 2 C-type adaptive and vulnerability fields with a damage control in there as well, and a medium C-type micro warp drive. In the engineering slots, we have an auxiliary thruster 2 to add some flight velocity in there, a semiconductor 1 to help with his capacitor, and a capacitor control circuit 1 also to help with his capacitor. In the shield rigs, he has his EM and thermal blocked, and the last slot is used for a T3 rep amount rig, making this a very tanky Cyclone when not up against the Ashimmu, of course. So now we move on to the actual fights. Make sure to let me know down below if you prefer the fights to have music in the background or if you'd like me to continue to carry on talking over the actual fight itself. This first fight is between Tide in his Rail Vigilant and the Cyclone in his missile boat. Now this was just a sort of tester at the beginning, get a fight going on while I was getting the Ashimmu into position. You can see that Tide is keeping him at range, well out of range of his max range of his missiles. It does take a little bit to get him down with the Vigilant. Tide realizes he is orbiting and doing much less damage, so he decided to, I just said to him that he should stop the ship so he can apply maximum damage, and you can start seeing the damage ramping up as it's going on. Now this is just basically a fight of time. Tide doesn't have to worry at all about any E-war. He doesn't have to worry about him getting in range of weapons. He just sits out there and waits for the explosion. It is inevitable. That fight was kind of one-sided, but it is what it is. So moving on to the next fight was between myself and Tide. I'm in the Ashimmu. Tide is in his Rail Vigilant. He tries to keep me at range. Now, what he didn't know was that I had a maneuver in place to get him into range of my webs. Now you'll see that I go off in a direction and he MWD straight towards me. I turn around and approach him straight towards him. The velocity of both ships going together allows me to put the web on. What I made a mistake here with is when I got into range, I didn't apply the warp scrambler the first time. So he does get a little bit further out, but once he gets out of the web range, I web him again. It just goes back into, I stick the scrambler on this time to hold him in place, and it makes short work of the Rail Vigilant. Very easy once you get that down. So this next fight, I'm just going up against the Cyclone. He wanted to have a... We couldn't just leave him sitting there not enjoying the day. Everyone knows how this is going to turn out. The Ashimmu is obviously going to kick the living hell out of the Cyclone. So I just approached him at 0, got in there. For some reason, my orbit was set at a stupid distance. I was using a different ship earlier and I didn't change the actual orbit on there. So I had to go back into 8 kilometers and sit there at 10 kilometers. And then it's just a waiting game. I didn't even have to turn my tank on through most of it. It wasn't applying very much damage. I could have beaten him without turning the tank on at all, but for the video I decided to turn the tank on so it shows you just how much tank this actual Ashimmu has. And that's the end of that Cyclone. Now this next fight, we decided to bite off more than I could chew. I decided to fight both the Cyclone and the Vigilant at the same time. But now that Tide knows exactly what my maneuver is, he knows how to beat it. I explained it to him in there, so he now knows to keep me at range on approach, so it keeps me approached at 40 to 45 kilometers. So I jump straight on the Cyclone, apply all the damage on there, get his NOS in there, but as you can see I literally wreck his capacitor straight away. I'm dropping down to 30% capacitor on there. It's getting a little bit less and less. I'm cycling the shield to try and keep as long as possible. Now, when the actual Cyclone starts to go down, he takes his E-War off of me as if he's exploded. That was part of the rules. When he gets to hull, he's officially dead. So once that happened, I jumped on to Tide. So when I tried to approach Tide, here's the issue that I'm having right now. Because I don't have Expert 4 in shields, the power grid need for the large shield booster is actually really high. So what I can do to help this, you can see in here that I'm trying to approach him. I'm trying to do the slingshot method. I can get in at 35 kilometers. You can see the second time I try to do it, I go straight out, he comes straight in. I go straight back in towards him. It's cutting in close. So now it's approach, we get him into 35, and he goes back out again because he's got his inertia. He goes around and you can see the armor going down. So what I can actually do once I do get that Expert 4 in shields, and maybe probably stick the engineering 555 in there for the cruisers as well, I can actually put a city rig on my Ashimmu. So I can take that level 2 out of there and put that on there. Now that will raise the base speed of the Ashimmu to 385, give or take, and then add the 550% of the MWD. It goes up to 2,600, which would be the same speed as the Vigilant. So once I make those changes, when I can make those changes, that slingshot method will work 100% of the time against a Vigilant because they cannot turn and get away quick enough. And with that extra 800 meters a second just from that one tier 3 velocity rig will make that, even with setting me at approach, it will make that speed and the ships go in much quicker, much further, much faster to get into that web range. So currently the Rail Vigilant, with the current fit that I have with the large NOS and the large shield booster, requiring with the MWD more PG than I can fit on there without the 3 PG rigs, the Vigilant can beat the Ashimmu. But in 3 days, once the skill is done and I stick that velocity rig in there, there will be no worries even for the long range Vigilant. And that's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you actually thought that me talking over the video itself, talking you through the fights, was much better, or if you just prefer me to shut up and stick some music on so you can enjoy the fights themselves. Remember to like and sub if you haven't already. This is your one-stop shop for Evecho's content. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.